Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder. This is gonna be the second tutorial of the survival game series. Today we're gonna be working on the player stats so that our player has health, hunger, and thirst. So let's get started by going into assets, scripts, and then player. Over here, right click and create a new C# script called player stats. Once we've created the script, let's go ahead and open it up. Over here, let's delete all of this. Then let's create 6 variables. We're gonna do public float, health. Then we're gonna do public float, max health, which I'm gonna give it a default value of 100. Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for hunger, thirst, public float, public float hunger, and then public float max hunger. Let's go ahead and do it for thirst now. Public float thirst. Okay, misspelled. And public float max thirst. And both thirst and hunger, I'm actually gonna max thirst and max hunger. I'm actually gonna give them the same value, 100. All right, so there we go. Now let's go and make a start function. On start, we're gonna do health equals max health, hunger equals max hunger, and thirst equals max thirst. So right after this, we're going to go ahead and let's create an update method. And right below it, you don't really have to do this again. I'm just gonna do it to keep it organized. So I'm gonna go ahead and create public void update stats. You can just put all the codes on this function update, and we'll do the same. I'm just doing it to keep the code organized in a readable way. So over here, first we're going to add a couple of checks to make sure that our thirst, hunger, and health do not go below 0 or above their specified max. So we're going to go ahead and do if health is less than or equal to 0, then health equals 0. Same thing for thirst and same thing for hunger. If hunger is less than or equal to 0, then hunger equals 0. And then if thirst is less than or equal to 0, we're going to do thirst equals 0. Now over here, let's do if thirst is greater than or equals to max thirst, thirst equals max thirst. Now let's go ahead and do the same over hunger and health. So if hunger is greater than or equals to max hunger, okay, forgot the if hunger is greater than or equals to max hunger, then hunger equals max hunger. Now let's do it for health. So if health is greater than max health, greater than or equals to max health, then health equals max health. And I just realized I did hunger instead of health. So let's go ahead and fix that. Alright, so now that we have that set up, let's go up ahead again And I'm gonna do a couple of things which are optional for you all, but again, it's to keep it organized. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 2 square brackets, and I'm gonna create a header. I'm gonna call it stats. This is just gonna show in the Unity editor. It's gonna show an actual title header with that thing. So if we go to the editor, sorry guys. Let's go to player. Select your inspector and hit add component. We're gonna do player stats. Down here you can see it says stats. So yeah, that's pretty much what a header is. And we can also do, this is what the spaces do. It creates a space between the variables. So let's go back to the Unity editor, and down here we're gonna create 2 new headers. First one's gonna be called stats depletion, and second one's gonna be called stats damages. Alright, so in stats depletion we're gonna do public float health, hunger depletion, and I'm gonna give a default value of 0.5. Now over here, let's do public float thirst depletion, and it's gonna equal 0.75. Make sure that when you're using a float, so it's not an integer, you do this. That's because in order to do decimals, you need to add an F right after the number, so Unity notes that is a float. So now on stats damages, let's do public float hunger damage, which is how much damage will take if our hunger reaches 0. I'm gonna give it a default value of 1.5, and then same thing but for thirst. So thirst damage, and I'm gonna give it a value of 2.25. Okay, I forgot to add the float thing. So now what we're gonna do is over here on update stats, we're going to go ahead and do, just gonna comment it. So over here we're gonna do if hunger is less than or equal to 0, then health minus equals hunger damage times time that delta time. So time that delta time, I believe I explained on the last video, but I'll explain it again. What time that delta time does, it makes sure that this hunger value is being applied every second in game and not every frame. Because if it gets applied every frame, it's gonna go down like super fast. A value of 0.1 can feel like a value of 100. So that's why we multiply by times that delta time. So now let's do the same thing but for thirst. Okay, this is gonna be on damages. We'll fix that in a moment. Thirst is less than or equal to 0, then health minus equals thirst damage times time that delta time. Just gonna go ahead and rename this to depletion to damage, and down here to depletions. So over here what we're gonna do is if hunger is greater than 0, so because we don't want to just keep taking hunger away if it's greater than 0. We're already making sure it doesn't go below 0, but there's no point on keeping updating a value if it's not being used. So let's go ahead and do if hunger is greater than 0, then hunger minus equals hunger depletion, and we multiply it by time that delta time. Then same thing for thirst. If thirst, okay, forgot the parentheses. If thirst is greater than 0, then thirst minus equals thirst depletion times time that delta time. Alright, so we got our update stats. Now on the update function, make sure to play your update stats so it gets updated. And let's go back up, and I'm gonna create a new header, and I'm gonna call it UI. This will all of our user interface will go in, and let's do public stats bar. It's gonna give you an error because we still haven't created this script, but we will in a moment. So I'm gonna do health bar, public stats bar, hunger bar, and public stats bar, thirst bar. Now let's go down here and create a new function. We're gonna call it update UI. Actually, we can go ahead and make update UI and update stats private. There's not much point of having it public. And now let's go in here and make sure that update UI is getting called. And over here, we're going to do the following thing. So health bar number text equals health divided by 100. Actually, wait. Health.toString. Sorry. And then health bar dot bar equals dot bar dot fill amount equals health divided by 100. So the reason we're dividing it by 100 is because the fill amount on a filled image, in this case it's a bar, goes from 0 to 1, so we have to divide our value by 100. The reason I did all of this 100, so the maximum, is also that exact same reason, because if let's say you make a value of, I don't know, 200, you could divide it by 200. But if you make a max value of 3000, for example, you're going to have to make sure that hunger and max hunger are turned into percentages, so that way you can actually update it there. So just to make sure we'll have to do the math calculations, I just did them all 100. But you can do them whatever value you want. You just have to make sure that over here you turn it into a percentage and then divide it by 100. So now let's get back to this. Let's do hunger bar dot number text equals hunger dot toString, and then again hunger bar dot fill amount equals hunger divided by 100. Now again with thirst bar dot number text. Over here, make sure after number text to add dot text, and over here on thirst bar. Okay, sorry guys, I had to stop. Thirst bar, we're gonna do thirst bar dot number text dot text equals thirst dot toString. And now over here we're gonna do thirst bar dot fill amount equals thirst divided by 100. Also go over here where it says toString, inside the parentheses add I don't remember the name of that, just add two quotes, sorry, and do F0. So basically what this means, we're making sure that our value is displayed as an integer and not with any float values. So if you were to do F1, it would instead of being displayed as 100, it would be displayed as 100.0. F2 again 100.00. So if you wanted to display like that, it's up to you, but I personally just want as an integer. So again, I'm gonna do two quotes, F0, same thing down here. Alright, so we got this done now. Let's go up here, and where it says using Unity Engine, we're going to need to use the Unity Engine.ui namespace. So copy it, using Unity Engine.ui, all capitals. And that should pretty much be for the code on player stats. So let's go over to our FPS tutorial. To our Unity project. I don't know why I named it FPS tutorial. It doesn't make much sense, but it doesn't really matter. Now let's go to our scripts folder. And I already have this folder created, but I believe you guys don't. So if you want, go ahead and create a new folder called UI. This is where all of our UI related scripts will go in. So over here I'm going to create a new C# script. I'm going to call it stats bar. Let's go into it. Okay, did it with a lowercase b. Good. Okay, I'm gonna create it again with a capital case B. C# script stats bar. Over here we're not gonna need any of this, so let's go ahead and delete it. All we need is a public image bar and a public text. We're gonna call it number text. Name is really important because we're referencing this actual name over here on player stats. So if you even mess up a single letter, whether it's a capital letter where a lowercase is, it will mess up the entire code over here. So just keep that in mind when naming it. Make sure it's like that. And again, it's giving us an error because we're not using Unity Engine.ui, so let's go ahead and add that. Unity Engine.ui, save it, and there we go. So let's go back in here, and now we're gonna create our user interface. So over here we're gonna create a canvas. For those of you who already know Unity, I know usually the canvas are created outside of objects, but I'm gonna create it inside the player, so when we make a prefab of the player, we don't actually have to also make one of the canvas. We can just drag in the player with the canvas and everything. So over here on player, let's right click and go to UI and go to canvas. Inside canvas, we're going to create an empty. We're gonna call it hot. And over here is where all of our health bars, I don't know, pop-ups in game are gonna go. It doesn't really have to go in here, but again, as I always say, just to keep it organized. So inside here, create an empty game object, and we're gonna call it health bar. And to health bar, we're going to add the stats bar component. Not player stats, sorry. Stats. Okay, and what happened? Go back to your player stats script if you misspelled it too, because over here I put amount instead of amount. So there we go. Back to Unity editor now. Okay, there we go. Now it should let us add it. So again, select health bar, and there we can see it, stats bar. So let's go ahead and double click on health bar so we can actually get it to screen view. Inside here we're going to create a UI image, and we're going to call it bar. This is going to be our main bar. So now just scale it however you like. I'm just going to do it my own way, but first I'm going to do something which you guys don't really have to do. I'm just doing it because it's way too bright in here. I'm selecting the directional light. I'm going to bring the intensity down because it's way too bright. That feels better. So this bar, I'm going to make it red. A dark red will be fine. Also select your canvas, and over here where it says constant pixel, make sure to do it scale with screen size. The reason we're doing this is because otherwise, whenever we can do it on a resolution, but whenever we use a different resolution, we're going to have the issue that some of the objects might not be visible. They might be outside the screen. That's because we're not scaling it with screen size. Also, on the resolution, I'm gonna make it 1280 by 1024. All right. So let's go back to our bar, and I'm gonna scale it up. I'm going to duplicate it. Again, this is not necessary, this is just visual purposes. I'm gonna do a background so that when our bar goes down, we can actually see the difference between the max and the actual current value. I'm gonna make it let's do a dark gray, something like that. So I'm just gonna scale it however I like it, and there we go. Now inside here, let's right click, create UI text. This text gonna look kind of blurry in here, but it will look fine in game, so don't worry about it. And this is gonna be our number text. So I'm just gonna put like 100, and over here I'm selecting this so it's center when it comes to sidewise, and up and down center too. I'm gonna give it a value of 18 for the font size, and I'm gonna add the outline component because it will make it look nicer. But again, this is all visual stuff. Just make sure you have your number and place it wherever you want. Just make sure that the text is there. Now go to health bar and drag your bar over here to where it says non-image, the bar variable. Same thing for the text, over here to text. Remember to save your scene. That can really save you a really bad time. So now what we're gonna do is the following. I already have this image. I created this new folder called UI and the new one called prefabs and items. This is for a future tutorial. But over here on the UI folder, I have a plain image which we're going to need in order to make our bar an actual bar that we can slide. Because you can see right now over here we don't have any options, but if we drag this plain image into non-sprite, we can see that we have more options. Just in case, I'm gonna leave this plain image down below, but you can really make it by yourself really easily. It's simple, just go into Paint and export a blank image. So, but in case you don't feel like doing that, I'm just gonna leave this on the description. So over here where it says image type, instead of simple, select field. And I'm not gonna do a radial because as you can see, if I do a radial, look how it goes down. But if you'd like to do a nicer UI with like circles representing everything, you can go ahead and do radial. It's up to you. But I'm gonna do, instead of radial, I'm gonna do horizontal, and the fill origin is gonna be the left. So now we can see it that actually goes down. Alright, so now let's select our health bar. Okay, it's already in there, never mind. Let's go ahead and duplicate this 2 times. So one of this is gonna be our hunger bar, and the other one's gonna be the thirst bar. Right. Now I'm just gonna make the UI really quickly. This is not something you guys really need to see, but all I'm gonna do is just drag it around and position it so it looks nice, just like some things like this, what I'm doing right now. But I don't want the video to get too long, so I'm just gonna do all of this off camera. You guys can go ahead and do it by yourselves, and I'll see you guys in a moment. Okay guys, so I already finished. All I did was I added a background image, so it's this black image behind. So one thing I do want to mention is, so when you do UI, it basically gets rendered in the way you place it. So This background image, which is this one back here, if I was to place it right below everything, you can see it just goes over all of that. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing something. Okay. Yeah, that's a Unity bot. There we go. Just keep that in mind. And then I added over here a name text, which again is nothing. It's not gonna mess up any of the code. This is up to you. As you can see, it's health, hunger, and thirst. So now the last thing we're gonna do, select our player script, and let's go down here to the player stats where it says the stats bar, and assign every stats bar to their appropriate field. So health on health bar, hunger on hunger bar, and thirst on thirst bar. Now go ahead and hit play. And you can already see that the hunger and thirst is going down. I'm going to bump up the values just to see it quickly and make sure that we're actually getting health deducted from us. But you don't really have to do this. Another thing for those of you who are new to Unity, this over here, whenever you're in play mode, this is going to be blue. So whenever you're in play mode, nothing that you do here will save. So just remember that, because a lot of times you might just pause, do a lot of work to check how it looks, and then when you stop playing the game, you realize all of that work is gone. So just remember that. I'm gonna make hunger 10 and thirst 15. Let's see it going down. And you can already see our health starts going down. We're losing a lot of health right now. And yep, there you go. You have a player stats system. So right now we're not gonna do anything whenever we died. We'll do it on future tutorials. But just for this tutorial, this is gonna be pretty much it. I already showed you how to do the user interface, how to do the code, so you should be good. In case you have any issues or anything like that, you can leave it down below in the description, or you can join the new Discord of the channel, which I created a couple of hours ago from when you are watching this video. Over there I'll be pretty active. I'll help you guys on anything you need. I'll be more than gladly to do it. So just join and you can ask for help on there. Not just tutorial related, but Unity related or C# related. So I hope you guys liked the video. This is gonna be it for it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.